Manchester has produced some of the nation's favourite comedians down the years, including Victoria Wood, Steve Coogan and Caroline Aherne. But one of the funniest of them all has got to be Les Dawson. He's perhaps best remembered for the mother-in-law jokes and the Sissy and Ada routines. But as Six Music's Chris Hawkins has been finding out, there was an awful lot more to Les Dawson than comedy genius.
I kept getting this hideous recurrent nightmare that I was an old sports car and the wife's mother had a foot on my throttle.
Les Dawson's statue in Lytham St Anne's is a special place for his daughter Charlotte. Do you come here to the statue very often?
Yeah, I do actually. I know it sounds a bit weird, but when I'm upset or angry, I just get in my car and just come and sit there and just try and speak to him. Or unless it's a summer's day, obviously I'll come and hug him, give him a big hug and a kiss.
Charlotte was only 8 months old when Les Dawson died from a heart attack in Manchester on June the 10th, 1993. He was just 62. She had to grow up without her dad, sharing his memory with his adoring fans, but never actually knowing him in person.
So I remember being sat around the living room with my mum, just watching him on TV, and I was like, oh my God, my dad's on TV.
Did it make sense to you there?
No, not really. It didn't make sense to me. I feel like, obviously as I got older, I realised what a genius he was.
I got in the bedroom and I started to undress. And my mother had always said to me, whatever you do, when you're with a man, never take a... you know, and never be bet. Leave something on as an air of mystery.
So did you?
I left my hat on.
Over the years, Charlotte's had to piece together her father's story for herself from his TV shows and a cherished home video.
No bailiffs. Oh, hi. Oh, this is for you, Charlotte. This is a little record to show you of all the trouble you caused when you first arrived. No life and upside down. Oh, by the way, I'm your dad.
He said, I'd be dad, like to the camera, so it was just weird, really. Sends like shivers down me.
So there you are, Charlotte. You came in the world on the 3rd of October, 1992, weighing 5 pounds, 6 ounces, and you caused all this. Look at all these cards, just for you.
The home video Les Dawson made for her is Charlotte's most prized possession. But now, aged 21, she wants to find out more about the man he was, the story behind his rise to fame, and a talent he kept secret. To help Charlotte find out more about her father's past, I've brought her to a working men's club in Liverpool to meet comedian Les Dennis.
So, Charlotte, this is the Garston Woodcutters Club. And it's the kind of club, I started here in the 70s, but it's the kind of club your dad would have worked in the 60s and the 70s. Real typical working men's club.
I can't imagine what it would have been like for you. I would have been absolutely terrified if I had to do that now.
Well, you know, you were scared because, you know, audiences told you. With a singer, they'd applaud politely. With a comic, if you don't get laughs, then you die. You die a death, as we call it. It was a very hard training ground, but it was a great training ground for comics to move on and to become, you know, the likes of your dad, to become the national treasure that he became.
I mean, I came from a very poor family. Up to the age of 15, I thought knives and forks were jewellery.
What made him different, do you think, Les?
He had the common touch. You know, he could entertain people in a room like this, but he could also entertain royalty. He could entertain... The Queen laughed at Les Dawson.
And that's why he was your inspiration?
For me, he was just... he was somebody who'd got through. He'd got through from the working men's clubs and moved on. Somebody like Les, they made you think, it's possible. It's really possible.
These days, shows like The Voice, X Factor and Britain's Got Talent are a passport to overnight success. But those kind of shows haven't always been around. However, there was Opportunity Knocks, and that's the TV talent show that gave Les Dawson the big break he'd been searching for. The show turned him into a star overnight, although some critics said his humour was too northern for a national audience. But Les proved the doubters wrong.
Now, in the north of England, we have what we call gurners. Right. Okay. And the only way to illustrate how to pull a face is to paraphrase the old joke. It's a couple who got married in a lonely part of Cumbria. And she said, I love you, Arthur. I really do love you. And he said, he said, I love you as well.
But there was more to Les Dawson than comedy genius. Charlotte's made an amazing discovery about her father that he kept secret. It's incredible being surrounded here by the blankety-blank checkbook and pen, some of his books, and also these notebooks of his. But this is something very, very special, isn't it, Charlotte?
Yeah, extremely special. This is a romantic novel that I found when I was moving house from the house that I lived in with my dad, and I came across the romantic novel that he wrote, but he wrote it in a different name, a woman's name called Maria Brett Cooper.
So he hid behind a pseudonym?
Yeah, he did.
So he actually typed this himself, I assume?
Yeah, he has, yeah. It's called An Echo of Shadows.
Can you read us a little section?
The thing had been there since the dawn of time. It lived in the darkness and the stagnant dampness of secret places. Bloated and deathly grey, it waited.
It was never published?
Never ever published. He was about to publish it before he died. I knew what I'm going to do, because it needs a little bit of tweaking, so I was going to write it, finish writing it, and then hopefully publish it.
This definitely ought to be published, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a last work of Les Dawson.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And he deserves this, so...
In fact, the unpublished novel is just part of a treasure trove of written work by Les Dawson that is yet to see the light of day. His widow, Tracy, says he was always writing.
Always had a notebook in his pocket and always wrote all the time. If we were like we are here now, he would be writing another Sissy and Ada script. He was amazing, really.
That was his aspiration,
Yes,
ultimately, wasn't
very
it?
much so.
To be recognised
And
as
he
a
used to
writer.
say that to me. He used to say, if anything happens, I want to be remembered for my writing because I'm so proud of it. He used to go and sit in the library when his books would come out, in Lytham St Anne's library, and just look at the books and just sit there and look at it and say how proud he was that he achieved that from a Collyhurst lad. You know, he'd done so well.
Oh, Brummy, not just the American. Yeah, but I can't do a Brummy. I like the Brummy.
I've taken Charlotte to meet her dad's biggest fan, comedian Johnny Vegas. Johnny played the part of Les in a play he wrote about when Dawson took over from Terry Wogan on the quiz show Blankety Blank.
Johnny, you did a massive tribute to my dad when you wrote for the Radio 4, the play. I thought it was amazing.
Oh, cheers. Yeah, well, it was a massive
It was special to me and my
honour
mum anyway.
to play your dad in the radio play. I must say that it's a great pleasure to be here this evening in this superbly furnished example of an early Victorian knacker's yard. I paid him before such a handsome, well-dressed audience. And that's one thing you'll find about me. I'm always polite, as well as tone-deaf, with eye trouble. Apart from Leslie's lines and things that we knew Les had said, it was a fictional piece, but the joke being that Les had got the presenter's job on Blankety Blank by accident. Les getting that job was such a surprise, I think, to everybody, when you consider the type of show Blankety Blank was, and the fact that, you know, Teddy Wogan, who was the golden boy presenter and the safest hands in the BBC, and it felt like such a risk to give it to somebody like Les.
For any viewers, wherever they lay, who may be watching this debacle tonight, please don't fiddle with your controls on the set. Just because Terry Wogan isn't here doesn't mean your set's broke. So all I can say is I shall do my best, Terry, to keep this show on the high level of asininity that you created. What can one say except...
Can I show you something here, Johnny? This is pretty incredible. This is a manuscript that Charlotte and her mum found very recently.
just before he died, he was gonna publish this.
It's always the stuff that you'll never know. We've got what he did. Do you know what I mean? That's there to treasure. But without being morbid, what's really sad is there was so much more beneath the surface with Les. How do you feel about, you know, that fact that somebody like your dad, who's fundamentally a national treasure, what it's like belonging to other people? You know, almost belonging to the public.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like a lot. Like it's when people talk to me, it's kind of like they talk to me like they know him more than me, and I'm always going to get that. But you know, I've sat there for hours watching him on TV, YouTube. Like I've read every book. You know, I've had to get to know him through all this, but I'm so lucky in a way because he's left me such an incredible legacy. But at the end of the day, all I want is my dad back.
Now wave to the camera, say hello. She's a big girl now, you won't remember this, will you?